Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to our Facebook Live Q&A series. Thank you for watching. What a past several series it has been. Thank you for all of those that continue to come back because we have another great series ahead. Today, we have the privilege of launching the Family Strong series. So you're going to get to hear from individuals or businesses that have stood the test of time, the next generation that have stepped up and said, I want to lead this company and our family's legacy forward with their own leadership style. So what a treat it is going to be for me, but certainly a treat for you. So I'm thankful that you're here on Facebook and you're live and you're tuning in. If you are watching the replay, welcome. So glad you stopped by. And I'm going to give you some ask you a few favors of you here shortly. But first, I want to thank our sponsor. So we are so privileged to have Mike Kelly with the Hickory Real Estate Group, who has stepped up and said he wanted to sponsor this Family Strong series. So Mike is actually with us on the call, and I'm going to have him unmute himself, and I want you to hear from Mike. So Mike, hello. Thanks so much.
Hey, Lindsay. Thanks for having me on today. Hopefully you can see me on here, but wanted to thank you for letting me help sponsor this and look forward to the opportunity on here. I know this series kind of hits home for me since we're kind of running our own family business. My wife and I and my kids are actually starting to work in the behind the scenes a little bit over the last couple of years. So it's kind of exciting for us. So definitely looking forward to hearing what Alex has to say and how his company's been able to thrive over the years because they've got a great legacy that they've definitely provided to our area. And, like I said, just looking forward to that. If you don't know who we are, Hickory Real Estate Group, we are a real estate company. We help people buy and sell houses. And you can find us easily on Facebook. And we just, like I said, just really appreciate you tuning in and letting us help sponsor the series.
Thanks so much, Mike. Mike and his company, they've just passed their decade mark of being in business. I think that was one of my very first ribbon cuttings when I started my career at the Chamber. And what a treat that's been to get to know you guys, you and Kathleen and your whole crew. I believe he's taken his youngest son to college on Friday. So what really, really awesome to see all that transpire. So thank you again, Mike, for your sponsorship. If we haven't had the privilege to meet before, I want to introduce myself. I'm Lindsay Kiesler. I have the honor and privilege to do this every day, right? To serve as the president and CEO of your chamber. And really what a privilege it is to serve on behalf of business and work for business in this community. And I mentioned I had a couple favors to ask of you, and I really would love for you to do this for us because we want to make sure that everyone or the most people can hear from Alex Shuford III, my guest today. So I want you to react to use the emoji. You've got the hearts, you've got the likes, you've got the wow faces. Go ahead and show us some love if you're watching. So throw us some few reactions right now if you're watching. Also, I ask you to share the video. So will you share while we're live on your feed so your followers can hear what Alex has to say? In addition, you can start a watch party. That's always fun, right? So you click start a watch party, it's shared on your feed, and your friends can watch along with you. And you can actually see which of your friends are logging in to hear from Alex. So thank you. Thanks for doing that. Facebook really loves it when we have engagement. Also, this is live, right? It's live. So you have the ability to ask a question or make a comment while we're talking. I have the ability to see all your comments. And so if you agree with something, if you've got a great experience you want to share, or if you have a question that you'd like to ask of Alex for me to weave into our conversation, do that. We'd love to hear that. So thank you again to all of those of you that are watching. And also thank you to my special guests today. So now is the time when I get to say, welcome to someone that is an incredible leader of a great company here in our area. It's the third generation leader, actually. not only one company, but a family of brands. And so it is my pleasure today to introduce Alex Shuford III. Alex, thanks for joining me.
Lindsay, thanks for having me, and you flatter me too much. I wish I could be half as good as you say, but thank you for having me. Thank you, Mike, for sponsoring it.
Well, it's going to be really evident, I think, once we get into these questions. I'm looking forward to hearing your answers to what we've got planned. But just a little bit about Alex. If you've never met him before, let me give you some background on him. So Alex Shuford III, or A3, I think his team refers to him as, is the president and CEO of Century Furniture and Rock House Family Farm of Brands, which is the parent company of Century, Hickory Chair, Highland House Furniture, Hancock and Moore, Jessica Charles, Maitland Smith, and Cabot Wren. Alex Shuford III joined Century Furniture in the year 2000. He has worked in numerous capacities for the company, including VP of Sales and Marketing, and also Vice President of Century Furniture. He was named president in April of 2013. In 2015, he was appointed to president of Rock House Farm family of brands, overseeing Century, Hancock and Moore, Jessica Charles, Highland House, Randall Allen, and Cabot Wren. The company acquired Hickory Chair, Pearson, and Maitland Smith in 2017. Alex grew up in the business. He grew up in the family business. He's the third generation, as I mentioned. So therefore, he's a furniture veteran at this point. His grandfather, Harley Shuford, which many people across this community know and remember, founded Century Furniture, and Alex owned and operated his own retail store group in Northern California for 7 years prior to moving back to North Carolina to join the family business. Alex is knowledgeable, and I think we're all going to know that he's an entertaining speaker and a very fluent in retailing, product development, and marketing to this luxury segment. So him and his wife and kids live in Hickory, and I'm so glad that you joined me today, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so this has been the highlight of our Facebook Live Q&A series so far. This is what we call rapid fire Q&A. So it's getting to know Alex in a short period of time. So Alex, are you ready for this?
I hope.
All right, here we go. Okay, Alex, what is the most important quality of leadership?
I think being present and listening.
What one word would you use to describe the RHF family of brands?
Honest.
What is one cause that's near and dear to your heart?
Conservation of green space.
Nice. What's one of the most random facts about you?
Well, I used to have a ponytail and an earring, and I spent 6 months living in a pop-up trailer.
No, I've got to hear more about this story at another time. That's awesome. All right, who is one leader that you admire the most?
Tim Cook is a current leader I admire.
What was the last book you read?
As Long as It's Fun by McCormick, about a couple that sails around the world for their entire life.
So this might be something I could probably predict, but what was your very first job?
I worked at the Century Upholstery Distribution Center, hand trucking sofas around for packing and
Did
delivery.
you actually get paid for it? Or this
I got paid, but I'm afraid I probably broke a couple of pieces of furniture, and it cost them more than just my salary.
Oh, no. Oh, well, okay. Now, what makes you lose track of time?
I love fixing things. So any project where I can go tinker and fix.
I like it. Okay. What's your personal mantra?
You can accomplish great things if you are willing to give someone else the credit.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. All right. If you had 15 minutes to have a conversation with anyone, who would that be?
Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah. All right. If you gave a TED Talk, Alex, what would the subject be?
dealing with everyday risk.
When you aren't at work, where can we find you?
On a mountain bike trail or on a paddleboard if I'm lucky.
I like it. I like it. All right. And then the last one, if you could pick up a new skill in an instant, what would it be?
To be able to play the ukulele.
I like that. We've had a lot of individuals that want to learn a musical instrument for that new skill. I'm the same. I'm the same.
I figured ukulele's within my skill category.
Yeah.
I might have a shot at it.
Nice. I'm sure you could pick it right up. All right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for humoring me. We love to do this and weave this into the discussion because I think it paints you in a light that people might not necessarily think of you in. And
everybody's visualizing me with a ponytail now.
So. I am in a pop-up trailer. Yes, I definitely am. All right. Well, we have wanted to launch this Family Strong series because we feel that our community is full of them, right? We have many companies that have stood the test of time. You've invested in technology, you've invested in your people, most importantly, in your culture. Your family has invested in generational leadership, right? Succession, thinking who is going to bring this company, who's the right person, the right leader to bring this company forward. And it happens to be in your family. And I think that's just incredible. And so for our viewers that aren't familiar with Rockhouse Farm Family, I'm going to get this right, Alex. I'm sorry. Rockhouse Farm Family of Brands. Give a little bit of history of how this came to be today and how it started.
Sure. So the family's been in the community for many generations, starting with Shuford Mills back in the 1800s. And in the 40s, 1947, my grandfather, Harley, started furniture company, Century Furniture, sort of post-World War II as GIs were returning, really probably as a short-term way to make a little money. He was also in the textile business with Valdez Weavers. And he sort of got a taste for furniture, began to enjoy it. And the next multiple decades of our history in furniture were really stories of success and failure. We were, depending on the year, doing fabulously well, and maybe 2 years later at the edge of barely being able to make it, taking money out of his kids' checking accounts to make payroll. And the early story was really that story of perseverance and determination. But over time, the business grew. And then my grandfather, who was the sort of matriarch and really the center, the soul of the company, you can really credit him with that desire to make the brands national, to push beyond the regional mindset. But then he brought his children in, and that first sort of generational handoff was to my Uncle Buck, my Aunt Nancy, my father Alex, and then on the textile side was Shuford Mills, my Uncle Pope, and they really continued his legacy, which had always been do the right thing. It sounds so simple, right? It's kind of we're Boy Scouts in many ways. We just want to be good, honest people. And I think over time, really what's made us endure throughout the mistakes we make, throughout the tough times, is by having a legacy and a culture of doing the right things. When you need them, people are there to return the favor to you, your employees, your customers, our suppliers. I almost get choked up thinking about it, but it really is the people standing around you in the trust fall when you have to lean on them. But you build up that equity through years and years and decades of trying to do for them the right thing. So that RHF then, our Rockhouse Farm Family of Brands, came about more recently. My immediate family, my three sisters, my father, and I bought Century Furniture from the larger family. And then after we bought Century, we had a desire to try to continue to grow. We were given the great opportunity by Jack Glasheen, Jimmy Moore, and Tim Rogers, to be able to buy Hancock and Moore a few years ago, as they were really looking for some company and a family they could trust their legacy to. And then a couple of years ago now, almost 2 years ago, we were able to buy Hickory Chair, which was a very storied company in this community, over 100 years of history and legacy. And what we do is we look for companies that have our sensibility, our culture, where we feel like that when we mesh, they'll make us better, and that we have something to contribute to them. And those have been fabulous decisions. But when we did it, we couldn't call it Century, because if you're Hancock and Moore, you don't work for Century. You work for Hancock and Moore. If you're at Hickory Chair, you work for Hickory Chair. And so the only name that my sisters and I and my father could agree to was the name of the farm where we grew up. So my mom's farm is Rock House Farm. She raises horses, thoroughbreds. And so that was the name that was not in dispute. So we became Rock House Farm Family of Brands.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I think several things that stood out to me, it's these words that you use around honesty, doing the right thing, building up equity in people, right? So that, the can-do-it personality, that persistence of the ebbs and flows of either an economic climate or just simply, preferences, consumer preferences, and being able to adapt and invest in culture. I know you guys do a lot of that. And when you say family of brands, I know too, you see your talent or your team as a family. And so I think that's really, really great. So talking about your grandfather and your dad, you smile when I say that. And knowing, just as generation, I didn't know your father, right? Or your father or your grandfather, but I've heard about them, right? And so we always say your reputation, a good reputation is worth more than gold. And I think that that definitely is a Shuford family trait. And it certainly have served you well. And I know you're carrying that forward, but talk about them. What are your earliest memories of your father and also your grandfather, and what about them did you admire that then inspired you to emulate in yourself?
Sure, thank you. My father was always smart, quiet, and determined, and he was a classic example of a leader who didn't need the limelight, but just wanted to get the right answer or the right decision in place in the best way possible. And the ultimate person for lifting up those around him. Never raised his voice at a single person that I can ever remember, but you always wanted to please him, because for him to be proud of what you did was the ultimate compliment. And that motto I mentioned earlier, that you can move mountains if you don't care who gets the credit. That's really his sensibility, that you can accomplish great things if you're willing to have that credit go to the team and go to the organization. And my grandfather was really a very different person. He was a larger than life character, very confident and comfortable with risk and willing to roll the dice. He, almost in some way a gambler, but a gambler with a very strong moral streak, that he always believed that regardless of what the situation was, that he could lead the team through it, that he could sell his way through the problem. He could figure out how to put the right people in the room to figure it out, just exuded charisma. And I think from him, really, I take away that ability to deal with risk, to be comfortable in a risky environment, to move forward while others are retreating. And then from my father, it's really that knowledge of being in the room and really rejoicing in the team and in the others, and trying to always keep in mind that you can be confident, but you can't allow for ego. That there's a distinct difference between confidence and egomaniacism. And when you lose the way on that, to be a leader, you need to be confident, but being confident is also realizing that most of the time there are other people in the room that know the subject better than you do, that have probably better ideas than you do. So be comfortable and confident enough to let them be the star. And that's worked out well.
I love that, Alex. Before, when we were in the green room getting ready for our talk, what you viewers didn't get a chance to hear, which I jokingly said, I wish we were on live right now, because we were talking some really just basic but deep, leadership concepts of hiring people, surrounding yourself with a team that of people that are smarter than you, right? That have strengths where you are weak. And clearly your dad seems like that's where you got that from.
Absolutely.
So talk about, okay, so you were in Northern California running a chain of retail stores after you got out of your tent and your ponytail. I'm sure, I don't know if you had that then or not.
Ponytail doesn't do well in the retail I was in, so I had to remove it.
Okay, so no ponytail at the retail store. Okay, so you're in Northern California and your family was here running the business. And what was it? Tell us about that transition. What really inspired you to make the leap, literally West Coast back to East Coast, back to your hometown where you were raised, to then run this company or work in this company?
Sure. Well, start with, my dad was brilliant. So he used reverse psychology and told me that whatever I did, just stay out of the furniture industry, find some other career, anything. And I was an English major, so the ultimate of ultimates. Well, try to write. So of course, with a parent telling their child to not do something, that's the first thing you want to explore and do.
Absolutely.
But I had really, it sounds almost too stereotypical to say it, but I had an epiphany sort of towards the end of my college career. With my ponytail and my earring and my running away from responsibility. I had spent 6 months in Nepal on a study abroad program, and quite literally on a mountaintop in Nepal, I realized that I was running away from something that I should be embracing, and that the family had a fabulous and wonderful legacy and history, and that to be a part of it, and even if I could only be a small part of it, there probably wouldn't be a higher thing I could achieve in life. So when I came back, I got into retail, and it was actually retail decorating and fabric sales and home furnishings. And that sort of started to lay the base for me. And then at that point in 2000, the family had bought a group of retail furniture stores. And it asked me to go look at a few because I had a little bit of retail experience. And once I looked at it, I kind of got my foot in the tar pit. And the more I struggled, I was up to my knees. And then, the more I struggled, I was up to my waist. And before you know it, I said, well, I'll come back and help. And again, my crafty dad sort of set it up so it was my idea, which is the perfect way to get somebody into the tar pit. And I've enjoyed every minute since. So.
Now that was year 2000, correct, Alex?
That's correct.
That was year 2000. All right. So from year 2000 to now, you mentioned, you've talked about the acquisitions and your personal immediate family purchasing Century and developing the family of brands. But what else has changed, from 2000 to now? Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think in our industry, like many, the last 2 decades have really been this rush of technology. And you think about manufacturing, especially the home furnishings industry on manufacturing, as a lagging industry, that we're slow to adopt new technology and to embrace it. And frankly, the companies that thrive today are the ones that got very comfortable leaning into the new technological tools and capabilities, and we're not the ones that ran away from it. And late 90s, we adopted a very complex computer system to run our company called SAP, which forced a level of discipline in what we do and a level of expertise, new expertise in technology, programming, that we didn't have really at our disposal before. Opened up a lot of opportunities for new jobs and positions. But then that new discipline, that new comfort with technology and software started to spill over into equipment in the factories, CNC routers and cutting machines. And really, you walk around a furniture factory today, it looks nothing like one that existed in the early 80s. They're just very different. Now, you might see some equipment still from the 80s and the 70s and the 60s because we're pack rats and we don't throw anything away. But there's so much of what you would see in sort of the automotive high technology industries or the pharma high technologies where we're using computerized equipment. We are interfacing with data management tools. We're very comfortable in a web environment. And I think that's been a big shift that in the way we think, the type of people we hire are very comfortable in a now fast-paced evolutionary environment that technology has helped us get to.
And Alex, I can't have a conversation without bringing it back to talent development, it seems. With technology that in an industry that has evolved comes, the need for a higher skill set, right? A more technological skill set. And so you guys were one of the founders of the Furniture Academy at CVCC. You all have worked to be intentional about not only training people on the job, but helping prop up things in our community like the Furniture Academy to help then have an educational pathway to develop talent for your whole industry. Do you want to talk any more on that?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest concerns or challenges that we face as an industry and as a community is talent drain out of our local geographical area. And one of the things that is incumbent on all of us as business people is to create opportunities for the next generation of employees that are both exciting and that have potential for advancement. And what's exciting for that next generation is oftentimes something that does touch technology. And they want to go to an organization that is vibrant, that is evolving, that is progressing. And I think what we do well, not as good as we could, we're constantly working on it, is we try to bring talent in, but then to continue to develop, advance, and progress that talent. That all of our new jobs are first posted within the company. So they're, before they're ever exposed to the outside community, first we're letting our internal individuals, employees, team members take opportunity to find transitions either among our companies or within. So Century employees progress within Century, but they also move over to Hancock and Moore if there's a position there that looks exciting for them, or over to Hickory Chair. And not only do we encourage it, but we really revel in that, because then we get to mix our cultures and we get to share our skills. And then when we open up opportunities outside of the company, because we don't have just the right fit internally, we're really looking for personality traits and the beginnings of the skills that we need, because we're then going to hopefully help you develop and refine the skills. And if you've got the right culture, the right attitude, the right personality, we can teach you a lot of the rest of furniture or technology. You come with a will, we'll teach you a way.
That's great, Alex. Thank you for that. And that's, I find that this type of conversation, I think it's happening more and more because it's out of necessity, right? Knowing what the next generation values. My generation, we've got a whole new generation that's coming along behind, a couple that value things very differently. So I think being able to adapt and create a culture where you're advancing someone, you're not just in a job and you're there for your entire career. Gone are those days, right? You certainly can, but now, hey, you have the ability to add your skill set and then hop around and challenge yourself in new and different ways.
Exactly. And the other thing I think we really revel in here is the craftsmanship of our people. They're producing products that are known around the world, that are being enjoyed in California, that are being enjoyed in France, that are being enjoyed in Saudi Arabia, that we're, what they touch, the art that they create every day literally travels the entire globe. And there's some real pride in making. And I love that the Hickory community and Catawba County in general has really, sort of circled around the makers movement. We make things here, and there's a lot of personal pride our people get in that.
Without a doubt. Also, some personal pride there is the fact that you are a family business. You're privately held, and you are third generation. So talk about that. How is being a family business, how does that impact your culture?
Well, there's the daily risk that since we're third generation, we're going to mess it up completely. No, it's I think it's really fundamental to our culture that we're family owned, and fundamental in the sense that that we are present on a daily basis within our facilities and within our team members. That there's a interpersonal trust that goes with that that being present side of ownership. And it's not to say it can't exist in a public company or it can't exist in a company that's not family owned, but with a family owned company, oftentimes you get to take a view of your finances and a view of your company development that is a longer arc. We don't think just of next month and next quarter, but we think of what's going on 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. And we also feel a sense of responsibility, not just because you gave me a job a couple of years ago and I want to do a good job, but you gave me a company a decade ago, my father, or 2 decades ago, my grandfather. And I feel a responsibility to those generations of our family. That, there's a great quote that we all stand on the shoulders of giants. And I think it's very true in family companies that the best generational handovers hand over with a deep sense of responsibility to not mess this thing up, and tends to be the ones that make it, and hopefully that move generation to generation, instill that work ethic in the next generation. Laziness in our family was abhorred. It's the ultimate sin, is to be lazy and to not be active in doing. And I've often found you can accomplish a lot of things, even if you're like me and you're not that smart. If you'll just work hard at it, you can tend to win in the end. The tortoise and hare syndrome.
That's right, sweat equity. But more than even just like you said, that pressure of carrying this forward, creating your own legacy, and what's the next generation of Century and all of your other companies look like. But I know that you guys are very intentional about culture, and we've said culture all throughout this interview. But you're really unique in employee engagement. I know you have wellness programs. You guys have fun. I've seen you on a scooter, Alex. I've seen a picture of you racing a scooter or something. So talk a little bit about what makes the Century and the Rock House Farm brands, what makes that culture special?
I think it starts with trust and approachability. I think as owners, as leaders in our management team, each of us is incredibly approachable. There's no one in the organization that doesn't have permission, if they see me walking by, to stop me and talk to me about anything they want to, whatever's on their mind. And an organization needs to see its leadership down in the weeds, figuring out problems with them, or enjoying and reveling in successes, or losing at the trike race, which it looks like do every year now, or having a family day where the family members of employees are able to come together and get together. And so I think at its core, our culture is we're a little village, we're a little community. We are a family in a lot of senses, and we have fights, and we get frustrated with each other, and we work it out. But it goes back to the sort of the core of the Century way, if you will, which is sort of do the right thing. No one at this company has ever gotten in trouble for doing the right thing for a partner of ours, or a customer of ours, or a supplier of ours, or another employee within the company. It may not be the financial right thing. It may not be the thing that keeps you from getting yelled at. But if you own it and you understand that it is, at its core, an honest and good thing to do, then you're not going to get in trouble for that. And I think that gives people confidence. It sort of instills that culture across the board that we really, at the end of the day, we want to be thought of as a good company, probably more than we want to be thought of as a successful company.
Well, speaking of the end of the day, think of the end of your career, right, Alex, when you are approaching retirement and, looking back, or then I guess looking forward, what do you want your legacy to be? The Alex Schieffer III legacy for Century and the Rockhouse Farm family of brands.
Easy, underhanded softball questions. I guess personally, I'd love if part of my legacy could be that I helped create a company that was exciting to work for, that was constantly evolving and progressing, but that also at its core was one that represented sort of trust and hope, right? A company that people, whoever interacts with it, even if a competitor interacts with us, they can look at us and say, they do things the right way. I respect the way they operate, and hope in the sense that I think all of us have this feeling of hope around U.S. manufacturing and our industry in particular, and every employee at RHF at Rockhouse Farm has hope that we will continue to improve, that we'll grow, that we'll survive, that we'll be here 20, 30, 40 years from now. We have dozens and dozens of employees that are 40 plus years employees, and hundreds that are 30-year plus employees, and hundreds more that are 20. And when people stay with you for 30, 40, or 50 years, they stay with you because they feel respected, they feel honored, and that they trust that the decisions you're going to make will continue that pattern. And then, what would I want for RHF, the RHF family of brands? I would want us to be an example of a company that that people that we interact with feel is world class. And again, that doesn't mean that we're the most profitable. It doesn't mean that we're the biggest, but it means at its core that anybody that interacted with us walks away saying, you know what, they were fair, they were honest, and they were good. And sounds a little bit base, but that's.
It sounds quite remarkable and extremely admirable and inspiring. And so I thank you for that. I thank you for your leadership. I thank you for your investment in our community and also in your chamber. It's been a privilege today to spend this time with you and to hear about some of your just very personal things about your family and the impact that they had and even just your deep desires for this company going forward. I'm just privileged. So thank you, Alex, very much.
Lindsay, it's been a delight. Thank you for having us. I think it's a great series, and I love what y'all are doing. Thank you to the chamber.
Thank you. And I hope that our viewers will join us for the rest of this series. This is the beginning. We certainly began this with a bang. And so thank you for that, Alex. Our next guest, I have the privilege of interviewing Joanna Augusta Scheer. So Joanna just recently took over, actually right before the pandemic, right before March, she took over as CEO from her dad, Matt Augusta. Their company called Steel Rubber Products, it's down in the Sherrills Ford area. So I hope that you will join me on August the 26th. So August the 26th during the lunch hour, you'll get to hear from Joanna Scheer, and she's the president and CEO of Steel Rubber Products. Oh wait, we have one question, Alex, before we sign off. So someone asked if you dress up for Halloween at work.
As obviously an employee, yes, every year I am dressed by my wife for Halloween, and she has taken opportunities each year to embarrass me in the maximum way possible. So
What a way to end it. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Hickory Real Estate Group again, Mike Kelly and his team, for sponsoring this session and making it possible for us to continue to do this. Thank you to everybody who has shared and reacted and commented. You can continue to do that in the replay. If you are watching the replay, thanks for hopping in. You just heard, you can watch it after we're finished, but where you just heard from Alex Shupert III, President, CEO of the Rock House Farm family of brands. So with that being said, it's a wrap for the day. So thank you so much.